Evening, everybody. Icy here. Just a couple of small things. I just was watching the news about a college professor, New York University down in New York City, freaking out over kids sitting at a pro-life table, handing out, leaflets and stuff. Excuse me. And this professor, for lack of a better word, freaks out on the students, screaming at them that you can't have a baby and what's next, are you going to target transgenders, blah, blah, and takes and just totally disrupts the table, pushing stuff off the table and stuff. And then right after that, the next day, I guess, a reporter went to talk to the professor, and it's on video. She pulled a machete out on the guy and had it at his neck. Now, here's the thing. Number one, you come at me with a weapon, that's aggravated assault. You're automatically supposed to get arrested. I don't know what happened. Number two, the teachers' unions, from what I understand, are protecting this professor, saying that she was in the right and she felt threatened. How can you feel threatened by someone just asking a question? Or how can you feel threatened by two younger kids sitting at a table handing out pro-life leaflets? And it's no threat whatsoever. So I say that the so-called professor has a mental issue, but that's my opinion. But if the professor is in fact arrested, it appears that the union is going to ensure that she doesn't lose her job, and she's going to continue to get paid while she was incarcerated or awaiting trial, however it's going to work. One of the things New York City is notorious for is a place called the Rubber Room. The Rubber Room is a place where teachers are not teaching. They are sitting on their butts, playing cards, playing on their phones, drinking coffee, and collecting a paycheck. Now, everybody says New York City pays hundreds of millions of dollars in, fees for the kids' education. Well, if a teacher's sitting on their keister in a room not teaching, they don't deserve to get paid. I'm sorry, the taxpayers pay for a teacher to teach. And you have to have teachers that are willing to set a good example for the students by having decorum, respect, listening to each side, and then getting the students to interact among themselves to have a give and take. It is not the place for a teacher or a professor to indoctrinate our kids into their specific way of thinking. That is not teaching. That's brainwashing. So I strongly recommend, I hope, I pray that the people in New York City will wake up and go after these teachers' unions for what they're doing. They are protecting basically criminals. They are protecting those that don't deserve to teach. I mean, just look at the statistics for the kids. I mean, kids that are in 8th grade, they can't read or write. They've got kids going into getting ready to graduate high school that can't read and write, but yet they're being pushed into going into college. These kids are illiterate, and they're being pushed to go into college. Why? Because the colleges make money off of the students taking out loans, which is guaranteed by the government. And it's nothing but a money-making proposition. It has nothing to do with teaching the kids. I mean, if you go, you can actually use a bar graph, and you can see the education of our children actually dropping from the 1970s until today. Back when we had shop classes, kids that had no interest whatsoever in going into college, they liked working with their hands, doing things that meant something. But the educators at the high school level and the guidance counselors, and they're pushing college, college, college. You got to go for liberal arts courses. Why? I mean, you got enough lawyers, you got enough doctors. What you don't have enough of, mechanics, air conditioning specialists, plumbers, electricians, are even machinists, people that know how to do, on a lathe and that, building tools that need to be used for something else. These are skills that we are actually losing in this country because of liberal educators stressing liberal education. Well, let's put it this way. A good example, I read it the other day. A student got a 4-year college degree in philosophy, Greek philosophy. Now they're $200 and something thousand in debt. But there's no work. Why would you take a course that doesn't provide you with a guaranteed job with a guaranteed salary? A kid can go out of high school, and I know for a fact that there's a couple places out on the West Coast that are actually offering this. These are air conditioning, refrigeration specialists, and plumbers that are actually offering these kids to pay for their trade school, provided that they work for them for a few years. You can't beat that. That's a good deal. But think about it. You go to a trade school for, say, electrician. By the time you finish working your way up through the ranks, journeyman, tradesman, whatever, I have no idea what the terminology is. But from the moment you get out of that school, you're earning money. Now, the whole trade school may have cost you $8,000, maybe 10 at the most, and you're going to start earning $50,000 to $60,000 the first year after you graduate. So it's I won't say common sense, because common sense has gone out the window in this country years ago. Look at it this way. Which makes more sense to you? Come out of a trade school and within 1 year be earning over $50,000 and pay off your school loan for the trade school, or 4 years in college for a degree which is worthless, or if you're lucky enough to get a job in the field, will only pay you maybe $32,000 or $35,000 a year, and you're in debt for over $200,000. Which one makes more sense? I think right now we need to stress college less and start stressing trade schools more. We need to build up our infrastructure. You can't build roads and bridges with some idiot sitting at a computer terminal. A perfect example is every one of you owns a car. How hard is it to work on your car nowadays? Back in the day, in the 70s, 60s, you bought a car, the owner's manual told you how to set how to gap the plugs, how to set your timing and all that. Nowadays, it tells you don't drink the battery water because it's being run by idiots. The engineers that design these cars, they don't fix them. So they're designed by someone who will never get their hands greasy. And they expect others to figure out how to do the things like having your battery behind the wheel well. And you have to remove the tire, remove the wheel well in order to get to the battery, change out a battery. That's just one example. So let's get rid of the highly educated, lack of a better term, lazy people that don't actually do the work, and start teaching the people that do the work so that they can get things done. Because when's the last time you seen a doctor fix his own air conditioning unit? Or when's the last time you saw a lawyer rewire the lighting in his office? It ain't happening. Now, he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the guy that's doing the rewiring, if he didn't want to work, or if he passed the word to everybody not to go to work for him, who's getting screwed? The lawyer. Just because you have an education doesn't mean that you're God's gift to the world. Everybody needs everybody. And these highly educated people, they need the people that have trades because they can't do the things they do. Another good example is in the military. You have these pilots, multi-million-dollar aircraft. They go to school, training, they fly, they fight. But you know what? You don't see them fixing the darn planes. Some kid with a high school diploma is sitting there fixing that multi-million-dollar plane, tearing out the airframe, rebuilding that motor. So let's start putting things back into perspective and get this country back onto a right path. Otherwise, we ain't going to be around much longer. IC out.